Some important news about how just fake everything here is in Washington, D.C. Kamala Harris, our vice president, recently produced a YouTube original series about the space program. As vice president, she actually is the head of the American space program. It's a carryover from the LBJ days under John F. Kennedy. And in that video, you're going to notice some children. The only thing you can really notice just from the video itself is, good Lord, as a politician, I just will never understand what's going on there.
Brutal.
First, watch it, and then we're going to tell you the important news on the other side about what you're seeing.
I just love the idea of exploring the unknown. And then there's other things that we just haven't figured out or discovered yet. To think about so much that's out there that we still have to learn. Like, I love that. I love that. And so I'm very excited about the Space Council. We're going to learn so much as we increasingly, I think, are curious and interested in the potential for the discoveries and the work we can do in space. So that's one of the things I'm most excited about. But the other, you guys are gonna see, you're gonna literally see the craters on the moon with your own eyes. Oh my goodness. With your own eyes, I'm telling you, it is gonna be unbelievable.
So those kids who are saying,
children.
wow, yeah, first of all, poor children. It turns out, though, a deep investigation from the Washington Examiner, let's put this up there on the screen, that those children were actually child actors. And this was all sparked because Trevor Bernardino, he was an actor, 13-year-old from Carmel, California. He was asked to submit a monologue discussing something he's passionate about and 3 questions for a world leader. He then interviewed with the production director, and then his agent was like, hey, you booked it. And he didn't learn until later that he would be meeting with Kamala Harris. He was joined by several others. I actually realized I shouldn't read all their names, but anyway, it's been confirmed. All of the children, the multiracial children in that video were child actors, all 5 of them, according to the father of one of the actors. All of them work, well, the one that I mentioned, working in Los Angeles. And this was billed as a YouTube original called Get Curious with Kamala Harris. I mean,
You can find, these
First
kids
of all,
seem adorable
yeah,
and lovely
look,
and
no,
sweet.
no knock on
Nothing
the kids.
about the kids.
Just get some real kids.
But you could just
Yeah.
find some kids who actually are like interested in space and would be
When I was a
excited to
kid,
meet the vice president.
Listen, I can't stand Kamala Harris, and if I was a kid and I got to meet the vice president and talk
it's
about space, it would have been
cool.
awesome.
Of course.
So, look, I don't know exactly what to say.
I think
beyond
the thing to
it's
say
just
about it,
very revealing, right?
it is very revealing. There are a couple other very revealing pieces on this deep dive that the Washington Examiner did. One is, I liked this line. I am so excited this project is out, wrote Emily Keller, a YouTube executive overseeing progressive civics content partnerships, who, according to her LinkedIn, was previously the Democratic National Committee's social media director. Which also tells you something about, the pipeline from politics into corporate executive roles and that whole symbiotic relationship, which exists, both with Democrats, more so actually at this point than Republicans, because Trump sort of made some of his people rather unemployable. So there's that. Then they also point out one of Harris's new advisors, Lorraine Voles, has a portfolio including crisis management and marketing and rebranding.
Yep.
I think the White House and, Democrats certainly talk about this in this town. They realize they have a problem with Kamala Harris. Regardless of, whether they like her or don't like her or whatever, they realize she is not very good at being a politician. She's not well liked. This was all obviously utterly predictable, given that she dramatically failed in her presidential primary bid. Like, you had a real-time test of whether there was an excitement and an organic appetite for Kamala Harris to be the next in line, and they chose to ignore that. For what reason, I really couldn't tell you. I think Clyburn put a lot of pressure on Biden after he was so instrumental.
It has to be that.
I think I still think they were kind of looking at Amy Klobuchar, because remember Biden was saying, like, I'm going to make a black woman a Supreme Court justice. That was kind of the signal of, like, but I'm going to pick a white lady for vice president. And then when George Floyd happened and Amy Klobuchar was involved, that took that off the table. So confluence of events leads you to Kamala Harris as vice president. And it hasn't gone very well. I mean, they've given her some very challenging assignments in terms of hey, why don't you handle the immigration and border enforcement? Put that in your portfolio. They're clearly trying to, with this, maybe rehab her image a little bit, make her a little more relatable. It's a big swing and a miss. And the real point that you alluded to is like just how fake everything in Washington is. It actually reminded me of that story about how the Zoom bookshelves behind people
were being artificially constructed.
They were like cultivated by, you could hire a company to like cultivate the right books on your bookshelf. Like that just says everything about DC.
Yeah, exactly. They would never actually read any of those books. Also, update on the video itself.
Oh boy.
It has 400,000 views, not bad. 2,500 upvotes, 21,000 downvotes, and comments have been turned off for the video. So not so good in terms of its reception. Is that representative? No. Also, we have a poll. We've been promising you more polls from the Breaking Points audience. This is actually revealing, though. Let's put this up there on the screen. Relatively the same amount of one-day votes. Right now, it stands around 64,000. And yes, that number holds with 90-something% of you saying, no, I don't approve of Vice President Kamala Harris. 2% of you say yes. 8% of you say unsure. And I'll remind that
what were the Biden numbers?
Exactly.
He did a little
Whenever
better.
it came to the Biden numbers, he had a 78% disapproval.
Wow.
So obviously the vast majority there still saying that they don't. But I mean, much more of you, many thousands more, saying that you, at least some, did approve of Joe Biden. Not many saying that you do for Kamala Harris. And that tells you the whole story.
Yeah, they're in trouble. I mean, there's even speculation that they'll try to push somebody else into that slot, not necessarily the vice presidential slot, but if Joe Biden doesn't run this time, or if he doesn't, or whether it's the next time up when, of course he couldn't serve a third term and plus he'd be extraordinarily old, that they may not ultimately end up going with Kamala because just the writing on the wall is way too clear.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right, guys, we're gonna have more for you later. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it, you get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.